We are live. One of us is. Oh, there's you. Hello. How are you, sir? You're not losing, have you?
I'm good. I'm not strobing, am I?
No, you just look a little bit. You looked a little frozen at the start of our podcast.
Okay.
Your winning personality, wasn't it? I'm just going to make sure my Wi-Fi is up and running. Yes, my Wi-Fi. Yes, we are live from London. Let's stop that music.
Just about.
Royalty-free music, please stop. Thank you. There we go.
Just about. We're just about live.
We are live from London. Hello, one and hello, all. The show that, without the stars, but definitely with the cars, returns to your screens with yet another episode. Now, we did have an absence last week. Apologies. We'd run out of fuel to power the program, and we had to wait an extra week to get a delivery of gasoline to get the show up and running. And to be honest, we're powering this episode purely on vodka and ethanol, as it appears to be cheaper than petrol. We'll be dedicating a whole section of the show this week to the lack of fuel across the UK, and what it means for drivers, and more importantly, whether there is another agenda behind the petrol crisis. Coming up on the show, we've also got all the news that's not fit to print in the news. We'll be delving into your correspondence in part of the show we like to call the mail bag. And not that we're going into autumn, but, well, we are going into autumn, but we're going to look at a car that's cheap to buy and is the answer to cruising with a soft top in the summer, which doesn't make any sense, but it does, because now is the best time to buy that car. And you know what cheapskates we are. We love a bargain. So stay tuned for that. A cheap convertible car to be bought in the autumn to drive next year, unless you're listening in California or maybe the desert in the Sahara, and then you can have a soft top all year long. Stay tuned for that. Joining me as usual is our resident Tottenham Hotspur fan and Mini driver. That's the car, not the actress. Here's Simon.
Oh, I do like Mini Driver.
Do you? Even now? Giant head.
Yeah, I see. A big massive head.
I would agree with you. About 20 years ago, she was very, very attractive. As
It's kind of fade away now. Yeah, I suppose so. But anyway, yes, this is Car-Boyz, and we have a great show on the way for you today. With somewhere in the show, we've got somewhere exciting, international, and exotic. Well, at least one of them is. In our Lost Highway section of the show, we have a great quiz for you this week to test your motoring knowledge. This week is called, I should have a cap for this, Now You Must Die.
Ah, now you must die, Mr. Bond.
Mr. Bond, now you must die. And we will be asking the age-old question of, what do you get when you cross a Norwegian prostitute with a car?
I don't know. What do you get, sir, when you cross? Or should we be like it's 1920s and we're doing vaudeville? I don't know. What do you get when you cross a Norwegian prostitute with a car?
You get a Ford Escort. Not Ford Fiesta, Ford Escort. I nearly messed that up.
We're so close.
Fine. We'll edit it out.
Need to read the script.
Yes.
A Ford Escort. Well done.
Ford Escort. So stay tuned for all of that and more, and lots of comedies. And I am Simon Sujuan, and do da 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 is all I want to say to you. Do and what da da da, the meaningless and all that's true.
Simon Sujuan there. There's some very deep lyrics from the Police. Now, I don't know if you knew, but the lead singer and bass player Sting likes to have tantric sex, which is where you meditate during sex. Meanwhile, Simon is confused about how you meditate for 30 seconds. Hi, thank you. I'm Richard Green, and I'm too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. So sexy it hurts. Which, of course, are the lyrics from Drake's #1 song, Way Too Sexy. And I hope Richard Fairbrass from Right Said Fred has got some royalties from him. Have you heard the song?
I've not, but it sounds very simple. Way Too Sexy. Way Too Sexy. Is that the title of the song?
Yes, it basically samples. Well, it doesn't sample. They've got somebody else going, I'm too sexy for my shirt. And it's awful, but of course, you know, the three children that buy records these days think it's fantastic.
Yes.
Got a new, and we should say this is Car-Boyz.
Car-Boyz.
Welcome to the show. A new sponsor for the show this week, and it is, of course, rather aptly, it's Petrol. It is Petrol, and yes, it's the taste of internal combustion and the systematic failure of government.
On sale now for £10 a bottle.
£10 a bottle, petrol. Be cheaper to put Evian into my car or Perrier. Time now on the show for Richard's Rant. It's when I take a sideways view of the world from my own weird and I would argue warped perspective. Unlike other sections of the podcast, this will be an open debate. Who am I kidding? It's going to be a benign dictatorship where I shall rule unchallenged as El Jefe. This is going to be a special one, though, because this week I'm going to be playing the fool and talking about fuel. Back in the 1960s, I'm sure there's a Christmas carol, isn't there? Carrying winter fuel. Good King Wenceslas.
Oh, blimey, governor. You need some fuel.
Here's half a crown, young. What was it? Here's half a crown, young boy. Go and buy the biggest turkey you can find. Yes, back in the 1960s, Peter, Paul, and Mary sang "Where Have All the Flowers Gone?" And the question I'll be posing this week is, where has all the petrol gone? As we know, for the past 2 decades, Tiny Tim, it's come to my mind now. As we know, for the past 2 weeks, I should say, there's been a shortage of petrol and diesel across the UK, in part due to a shortage of tanker drivers. The media have been whipped up into a frenzy. Car owners are panic buying across the country, with motorists queuing up for hours down the length and breadth of the country just to get a full tank. Ministers have ordered fuel companies to target a surge of deliveries to empty petrol stations in London and the southeast as the army began drivers using army drivers from this week to drive the tankers. Brian Madison, not the NFL Brian Madden, chairman of the Petrol Retailers Association, said the miners were doing good. No, he said shortages were getting worse in the UK's most populous region, where 1 in 5 filling stations is dry. And I can say I did go past a petrol station, or a gasoline station, as you say in America, the other week, and the other day, yesterday, and it was closed. So some have been open. I've managed to get some petrol. Some have been closed. Now, in contrast, supplies in the north of England and the Midlands are said to be improving, with only 6% of garages in the Midlands, Northern England and Scotland running dry. The PRA, which is the Petrol Retail Association chief executive, Gordon Balmer, told Sky News it could take a week to 10 days to get all sites running back to normal levels. 200 military personnel, half of them drivers, are being deployed in Operation Escalin, despite ministers insisting the situation at the pumps is easing. Well, it isn't in the southeast, but there you go. They include members of the 3rd Logistics Support Regiment who've been training with the petroleum logistics company Hoyers in Thurrock in Essex. The Petrol Retailers Association, Brian Madison. All I can think of, who is Brian Madden? Is he some football commentator?
No, Brian Madden was NFL, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah. I'm sure it was, yeah.
We'll look that up later on. He welcomed the introduction of military drivers, but warned they'll only have a limited impact. He said extra deliveries should go to the southeast, where there's a really big problem. He went on to say it's all really to do with the population. We've got 25 million plus people living around London and the home counties. However, he said the north, there's a plentiful supply at filling stations. So if you are watching the podcast and you live north of the Watford Gap, please tell us. Now, what we do know is the shortage of delivery drivers is partly due to Brexit, partly due to COVID, government furloughing parts of the DVLA. So the HGV drivers have not been able to get their license renewed. I spoke to somebody earlier this week that runs a freight forwarding company, and he said there's something like, out of the 150 drivers he uses, something like 75 haven't been able to get their license because the DVLA has been dragging its heels because they've all been furloughed due to COVID.
Yeah,
and they've not been issuing the new licenses, and so all these guys are sat at home going, "Well, where's my license? I've been waiting for 4 months," which the government did put that on hold during COVID. Now they've said, well, it's not on hold anymore. Well, it has to be on hold until you've got the right amount of people at the DVLA issuing licenses. Trade unions are also arguing that terms and conditions for drivers are so bad that many have just left the industry. Now, what I want to ask is, why were measures not taken a month ago to solve this problem? Is this just the government being inept, which is probably the correct answer, or is it something more sinister? I don't want to go down the conspiracy theory road, but too much seems to. But it seems as though the government, and Boris Johnson in particular, they're taking a great deal of pleasure in kicking the poor motorist when he's down. So far, in the last 6 months, we've been told there'll be no new petrol or diesel cars by 2030. Fuel prices are going up. Local governments across the country have been allowed to ban cars from many of our streets. either with a congestion charge or a pollution charge. Well, we've not been asked about any of this. They've also allowed a bunch of very bizarre eco-mentalists called Insulate Britain to block a number of our major roads, including the M25. I don't know what the M25 has to do with insulating your house, but there you go. Also, now we've got the new E10 fuel, which is less fuel efficient than the old E5. And if you've got a car it won't run on it if it's pre-2000. What I'm hearing now is rumors that this thing will eventually destroy your car if it's built before 2015. So that's something to look forward to as we all drive. Most people drive around in a pre-2015 car. As long as they still have it, I'll be using the super unleaded. All of this doesn't help anyone who's poor if you drive for a living or if you have a family. So most of us cannot afford electric cars. We need cars to go to work because there's very little public transport in this country. The kids need to be taken to school, and they can't be walked to school if they're under the age of 10 and live about 3 or 4 miles away, as do mine. So I've got a sneaking suspicion that the aim of this is to get us all to stop using our cars so we become more trapped in our homes. We can be controlled more by the state. We have even less freedom than we do now. It may seem extreme, but I'm wondering if this is the end of private transport for the masses. And my question today is, where do I purchase a horse from? And probably a buggy. Because everything that's come out in the last 6 months to a year has been anti-motorist, anti-driver, and making it more and more difficult for us to stay on the road. Fuel prices going up, and you're like, what are you trying to do here? What's the agenda? Because there is no electric cars, and this is interesting. We keep talking about G-Whizzes, don't we? We have this thing, and you never see a G-Whiz anymore. Do you know why you don't see any G-Whizzes? Because they've all broken down. They were made in, I didn't realize they were all made in India to really bad spec, and they have absolutely no shelf life. So if you want an electric car and you want a cheap one, you can, for £2,000, go and buy a G-Whiz. It won't work. It won't drive more than 40 miles, 20 to 30 miles maximum range.
So that's not my issue with it. My issue, I'm thinking, is second-hand market. There will be no second-hand market for these vehicles because if you think about it, if these batteries only last a short period of time, so like 5-6 years, and you get rid of your cars, you're basically taking on having to buy and get new batteries for your vehicle. Now, I know from reports that Tesla's, for example, their batteries, they claim, I think, 6 or 7 years battery life.
Yes.
But in reality, some people are only getting 4. And to replace these batteries and the cells in the batteries is costing around £16,000, £16,000 to replace these. So basically, with a second-hand market, you're buying a car which you know that at some point you're going to have to replace the batteries on, which is almost the cost of another car. How does that work?
Well, therefore, also say the outlay. What is the outlay of a Tesla cheap one? 40,000.
The cheapest one, 43,000 for the
Okay, so that's 43,000. Then after 3 years, it's another 16 grand. Then after 3 years, it's another 16 grand. Then after 3 years, it's another 16 grand. And Tesla are not super keen for you to be letting anybody play with Teslas. There's no secondhand market with Teslas. There's no we are you always get your BMW specialist, don't you, who's independent. There's no independent Tesla dealers that deal with those cars. So I'm trying to work out what the end of this is. Plus you can't do, I just laugh at the fact I can get in my car now, my wife's little 1.6 Civic, and I can drive to Edinburgh. I can be in Edinburgh by tomorrow morning. I will have to stop off for fuel once. You can't do that in a Tesla because you've got a 3-hour wait buddy somewhere while the thing charges up. But I can do that in my petrol car. We had this discussion years ago. A friend of mine is a scientist, a government scientist, and he works, I won't say where he works, he's a chemist. And I said to him, why don't we convert all cars to hydrogen? How hard is that to do? You convert all the cars to hydrogen, you put a little tank in the back, and his response was, the infrastructure isn't there. It's going to take 30 to 40 years to put the infrastructure there, and there's no incentive to put the infrastructure there.
I suppose because all our gas and oil companies. That's the other thing. It turns into gas and oil companies as well, whose prices are also going up. And I'm
Gas
sure
and oil
someone somewhere.
companies should actually like using electric because you can't store electric.
Yeah,
That's the other problem.
yeah.
You can't store it anywhere. I know Elon Musk, and before you email in and go, "Ooh, Elon Musk did this battery thing out in the desert in Australia." Yeah, he's done it once. There was a town in Australia in the arse end of nowhere. They were having brownouts all the time, and he built a huge battery storage facility so that they
Mm,
could store electric when they were having brownouts and they were losing power from the main grid, and they had battery supply. We haven't got anything like that.
mm,
So
mm.
I'm confused as to where this all goes.
Again, though, those batteries have a shelf life.
Yeah.
So I know from computer technology, you'd have what's called an uninterruptible power supply. And again, because they've got power running through them, they only last like 3 years.
And if we go back to the origins of the combustion engine, I think the first electric vehicle was Mercedes
Mm,
back in the 19th century. So that's 150 odd years ago,
mm.
and it just wasn't. What's his name? The American car enthusiast Jay Leno and
Oh
former
yeah,
comedian.
yeah,
He has an electric car from
yeah. No,
some giant chin. Yeah, well, this is so. Jeremy tonight. Um, Jay Leno has, and it's a beautiful vehicle. He has this
Yeah.
electric car that he bought off a little old lady who used it throughout her life from the 1920s, right? And it almost looks like a carriage, but it
Mm,
but it wasn't practical. She just used it for going to the shops and going to
yeah.
hotel and all in LA. She didn't go out of LA.
Mm.
Well, we tend to use our cars for getting about places. I mean, the majority of mine is tiny little journeys and then massive journeys at the motorway to see family. So I don't know. I think the whole thing's completely impractical. And talking which, we have some news.
Let's have some news. Du- 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 du. And first off, in local government in London wants us to drive with a man with a red flag in front of the car. News. Yes, no, it's not the Labour policy. It's still the drivers should be promoting socialism across the UK capital, London, but the speed limits will be reduced yet again. The City of London, which is where we're in London, but not the City of London, is aiming to introduce a blanket speed limit of 15 miles an hour
What?
citywide. 15 miles an hour. Have you oh, also, incidentally, because we obviously have no petrol in this country,
No.
have you noticed that people are also driving slower?
I've not.
All week I've been driving driving a part of the way to work, and everyone's driving really slowly because I'm assuming that they don't want to use up all their petrol.
No, but that doesn't make any sense. The most fuel efficient speed is 56 miles an hour. And I
Yes.
would love to drive 56 miles an hour through London. In fact, I may have done during COVID, during the lockdown.
Ooh.
No, there was
No, you
not.
didn't.
I didn't. I
No.
heard certain people were driving.
There were stories of yes, that.
Do you know?
Uh,
Because that's the most fuel efficient speed is 56 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It isn't fuel efficient at 20.
Yeah.
People keep saying this. They keep saying pollution levels reduce at 20 miles an hour rather than 30. No, they bloody well don't. They get worse.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right, and that is a scientific fact. The proposed measure is in order to save lives and reduce air pollution. The
I think this is the age of consent in Holland as well.
15. The document.
You have to be 15, my friend.
And your friend and lover. Bruce McVean, acting assistant director of the transportation at the City of London Corporation, reveals that he is to seek permission for the speed limit change from England's Minister of Transport, Grant Shapps, who's also useless. A request in principle to support the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. This is just wrong. Will shortly be submitted to the Secretary of State for Transport, he said. By the way, it's John. McFadden, not McFadden, the Madden, that's it, John Madden.
John Madden, the football guy, yes.
Yes, not Brian Madden, because I did look that up and it was like,
Well
who's
done.
he? I don't know. If it's agreed, it will begin to work on an experimental
Brian
traffic
McFadden
roller.
wasn't he in Westlife?
I think he was. I think it was the fat one. Yeah. It will be an
I'll be
experimental
on
traffic order.
OnlyFans now. It happens to us
Yeah.
all.
To introduce a citywide 15-mile-an-hour speed limit with the aim of having this in place before the end of 2022. Not going to happen. Citywide refers to only the City of London or the square mile rather than Greater London, as well as introducing a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit of the City of London. Also aims to widen sidewalks or in a pedestrian priority program that will give more priority to people walking. Oh dear. Oh dear. Do you think in that picture he's saying pull my finger?
No, he's saying, "Is it okay to cross this road?" And everyone's going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." The ones with all the heavy goods vehicles going down. Yeah, yeah. Straight across there.
All that will happen is these vehicles will move off the roads from City of London and the surrounding roads.
Yeah. So nobody will be going into the City of London, and nobody's going to do 15 miles an hour.
No.
The police are not going to enforce it because they don't
No.
enforce the 20-mile-an-hour limit. The
Yep.
best is what they've been doing in my area is sending people warnings.
Ooh.
So they speed get you, and then they write you a stern letter. Obviously, I hate
with a wagging
stern,
finger.
with a wagging finger. And obviously, I when I receive that letter, I go, "Oh, here's the letter. Oh, that's wonderful." Anyway, moving on. So the two things here.
Yeah.
I'm down to 15 miles an hour in my car, which is useless. Is completely useless, because you're doing 15 miles an hour most of the time in London. During rush hour, you're doing 5, you're doing 15, you're doing 10.
Yeah.
So you're doing that speed anyway. You're also giving the idiots that walk on the pavement the right to just walk in front of my car. They've got to be given priority. Idiots like this man on foot. I think we should actually have jaywalking laws like they do in Los Angeles. That's fantastic. I absolutely love that. In fact, I nearly got caught in Singapore when I was there many, many, many years ago. And somebody said, you can't just cross the road. I was like, what are you talking about? No, the strict jaywalking laws.
Okay.
Look, the pavement's yours. The road is mine. Might is right. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't tend to argue with a bus when it tries to, pulls out in front of me. I go, you've won. Right, there you go. Meanwhile, glad to be gay if it means I can park my car news.
Really?
A car park.
Rainbow flags.
Yes, a car park located, wait for it, in Germany has unveiled this. Special spaces dedicated and reserved for LGBTQ and migrant drivers. Hanau Parkhouse, sounds quite sinister, built 3 diversity parking spaces. Well, it didn't do many if it's only 3 in an underground car park in Hanau city centre, which will cater only to LGBTQ individuals and migrants. Thomas Morlock, the chairman and supervisory board of HPG and a city councillor, said the inauguration of the parking spaces aimed to help people feel a special need for protection. It's not immediately clear how authorities intend to monitor whether people who park in the spaces are in fact members of the LGBTQ community or migrants, although HPG said a camera would monitor the car park. Morlock went on to say, this is brilliant, that spaces were set to be conspicuously colourful symbol for diversity and tolerance, and not necessarily meant to be used by a separate group of people. Yeah, because Germany hasn't got any history of labeling people with a special sort of badge, have they? A special, maybe a gold star or a pink triangle. It's just they haven't got any history of doing that. Don't mention the war. Hanau is a small city of roughly 15 miles east of Frankfurt. It's long been considered a city of diversity in Germany, and its population was already ethnically diverse before the migrant crisis in 2015. And if it's Germany, it's probably just Turks, because that's the only ethnic minority outside Germans they have, are Turkish people. According to the German Federal Statistics Office, there were 1.8 million people with a refugee background in Germany by 2018. Now, I've got little kids, and I love using the child parking space, and I use and abuse that all the time because I've got car seats in the back and I'm a dad. They're bigger than the ordinary ones. They're always bloody empty. So if I go to Hanau Parkhouse, as well as wearing a little badge, apparently, I should put a rainbow flag in my car and then I can use them well. Plus, not forgetting that my mother is Irish. So I key into that ethnic diversity thing as well, don't I?
I don't get that.
What?
So LGBTQT, is this the plus? So the plus migrant people, so that should be a plus M.
plus
And
plus BAM. I imagine I'm not
and
BAM.
all,
I
and
can be
also
the
they're
price.
saying there's a camera. So what is it? The way you walk that makes you part of this?
Y- Well, yes, because apparently the parking space also plays DISCO by Ottawan when you park in it. And if you don't
DISCO.
sashay away like this, as it plays DISCO or do the hustle. I know far too much about game music in the 1970s, but that's another story. Or you could go on the internet and get one of those rather racist multicolored hats with dreadlocks in the side and just put it on when you get out of
Oh,
the car. You go, Irie,
interesting.
Irie, Twagwan. I is from the island and do that. They go, oh no, he's all right. And he's got a multicolored hat on. No, a Rasta and gay. This is absolute nuts. Absolute nuts. I would be abusing that. So, and if anybody came, excuse me, are you? I'd get like a sweetheart. Not that I'm saying all gay people behave like that because they don't. But you'd have to be over the top, wouldn't you, to prove your point? You could go, no, mate. You know, I am part of that community, mate. You'd have to do a bit more sashaying than that. I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so.
What a future!
Ooh.
Oh, won't my grandparents be glad they fought in World War II? Moving swiftly on. Oh, this one. This
In
is even better.
I
This is
like
this
this.
is very 1970s. This show.
Matron. And protect my pussy from accident news.
Was a slurcum.
Her pussy. Drivers of Jersey in the Channel Islands face being fined thousands of pounds if they run over a cat and don't stop after local politicians voted to change the law this week. Are they that bored? In doing so, the island becomes the first part of the British Isles to force motorists to report accidents involving animals. The change to the road traffic law means that drivers will be required to either inform the owner of the cat. The Jersey Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the JSPCA, or the police in the event that they hit a cat with their vehicle. In failing to do so, the driver could be fined up to £10,000 for for driving into a pussy. The vote passed Jersey State Assembly on Tuesday and was held following the debate that came in response to an online petition. Are people that bored? The petition said on its website, certain animals involved in road traffic accidents require the driver to inform the police. This does not include cats. Cats are free agents
Yes.
and are more likely to be victims of RTAs.
Yes.
We wish to see the law change, reducing their suffering by getting them to a vet quickly.
So, a couple of points here.
Yes.
The UK law, as it stands, you do not have to inform anybody if you run over a cat on mainland England and mainland Great Britain.
Yeah.
I did actually run over a cat once in Muswell Hill at about 3 o'clock in the morning, but I went over it and I heard this underneath the car, and then I saw this thing jumping up in the air and ran off. Yeah, it did. I saw it really jump up in the air in the rearview mirror. But the problem with that is cats. My parents had a few cats, and when they get hit like that, they just walk off and die in a bush. How are you going to find? I mean, you could phone at the coppers. The police don't come to your house if you get broken into in London. Do you think they're going to want me to phone them up and go, I mean, they must be really bored on Jersey. There's no crime. I think I just ran over a cat.
Well, can you imagine an episode of Bergerac where
Bergerac, the famous 1980s police detective who was based on Jersey and was always solving crimes and the Bureau de Change. Was it the Bureau de? Wasn't the Bureau. It wasn't the Bureau de Change. That's where you get your changes.
Your money.
It was the Bureau de Police or something, and he used to come out of there in his shit brown burgundy jacket. And he drove a Triumph as well. He get his Triumph and solve crimes. And Jim, we've had a phone call. It's Mrs. Miggins. Mrs. Miggins. Yes, apparently a cat's been wow. That's the latest episode.
So if they say cats have 9 lives, do you have to wait 9 times? Can you run over a cat 9 times?
Oh, that's true. Definitely.
You actually have to report it.
Yes. All I'm saying is when we had cats when I was a kid, when they got hit, a couple of them did get hit by cars, and Well, we presume, or they just disappeared. Also, how to differentiate between if a cat gets hit by a car and if a cat gets eaten by a fox? Because foxes do kill cats.
Yes.
And we
Yeah.
found, I think, one of our neighbours' cat disappeared, and then we found the bones in a hedge about 2 years
Ooh,
later. We're like, there's some bones there. Oh, that must have been her cat there.
fluffy.
And then they're pretty free agents, cats. My uncle ran over a dog once on his motorbike.
Ooh, on his
Yeah,
motorbike.
yeah.
Wow.
I don't think he was very cut up about it, but he done
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
he looked at the dog, and the dog was dead, and then he had to go to the police, and he just reported to the police, and they were like, "Okay, thanks for doing that." What the hell the dog was doing out at night? That was back in the 70s, mate, 1970s. Nobody gave a
Smoking.
shit. The dog was probably smoking. Police were smoking. My uncle was smoking. No, but nobody gave a toss about. There were no laws about
Yeah.
wild dogs, or it wasn't now. If your dog's not on a lead and not registered in the UK, you're in all sorts of trouble. Yes, the UK law as it stands, you only have to inform the police if you run over a dog or a pensioner. No,
Right.
just the dog, not the pensioner. The
Okay.
pensioner, you definitely have to inform the police if you run over somebody elderly, and you also get 12 points for that as well.
Ooh, really?
Yes, you get a ding.
And a bonus. Yeah, I was going to
Yes.
say 12. Like, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. You see coins fall down in front of your face. It's like it's like
Like the
Sonic. Yeah, definitely. I don't know what we've got. It's been very weird. We've gone off plot. We were talking about cars. We're back talking about cars
Yes.
because there is a new Italian stallion up for grabs this month. If you have £1 million, Ferrari F40, arguably one of the greatest poster cars of all time, is going on sale this month, likely to be one of the best preserved. Not a single mile has been put on this car since October 1992, when the keeper placed the stunning Rossi Corsa Red F40 into a temperature-controlled storage. It's remained there, what is that, 29 years.
Yeah.
It's heading to the auction on the 10th of October with an estimated value between 260 and an estimated value 860 to 1.3 million. The car is in mint condition, only 1,112 miles on the clock. The Ferrari is one of a feast of ultra exotic models being offered to collectors at Bonham's Zoot auction in Belgium in just over a week. Just over 1,300 F40s were built during a 4-year production run from 1988 to 1992, all of which were left-hand drive and finished in the same red paint. This is one of the more desirable versions without a catalytic converter or the option of adjustable suspension. The keeper ordered the car from a Belgian Ferrari specialist with the option of wind-up windows instead of the basic sliding windows designed to shave weight. Also asked for it to be fitted with air conditioning, which is weird. The Ferrari then
that sunny resort of Belgium.
Yeah, it's so hot in Belgium. The Ferrari then placed into a temperature-controlled storage where it's remained for 29 years. Experts at Hagerty, which tracks values of classic cars across the world, expect ultra-low mileage F40s to soon exceed £2.2 million. So that could be promising for the upcoming auction at Bonham's. Introduced in 1988 to celebrate Enzo Ferrari's 40th birthday as a motor manufacturer, the iconic F40 was the ultimate supercar, and it's historically significant as the first production passenger car to claim a top speed of over 199 miles an hour, and I believe it was the last car overseen by Enzo Ferrari.
Enzo. Yeah, absolutely right.
I think that's an absolute bargain, 1 million. I mean, I haven't got a million. To me, if I had a million, I wouldn't be buying this. I'd be paying off the flipping mortgage. But that seems like an absolute bargain of a car.
Absolutely.
Tiny wheels, though.
Yeah. Obviously, the problem is if you brought it to this country, you couldn't fill it up with petrol because we've got the cheap.
Oh yeah, we've got cheap crap petrol, so you'd have to fill it up in Belgium. It's a long commute to go to Belgium every time to fill it up. But what a fantastic car! Yes. So there, have we got one more story? Is that it?
No, that's it. That's it. News.
That is the news for this week, and it's time now to strike up the band wherever they may be, and have a little jazz. It's the classic car selection. Very mellow this week. Just a pianist. Oh no, and the bass player.
Little brushes.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that band. They didn't need to strike them up this much this week. They were very I think they must be getting their supply of illegal narcotics on a more regular basis. The
A
only thing I can
better supply than the petrol.
Probably, yeah. I know usually they do like to drink petrol because it's cheaper than heroin, but obviously it's got more expensive.
Mm.
Yes, of course, it's time for the classic car selection. It's where we focus on a car that can be yours for absolute peanuts. A diamond in the rough that is yet to be a classic car. And we've just been talking about classic Ferraris. There'll be none of that in here. There'll be no Bentleys, no Porsches, no Mercedes. This will be the section of the show. Well, they might get into the show if they can be had for a bargain. Now, this week, Simon, do you fancy a convertible car with a tin roof that has a badge you can be proud of, full of equipment, full leather, and seating for 4 people for less than £4,000? Do you think that's achievable?
That sounds like a bargain. Yes.
Well, when Volvo released their convertible 15 years ago and it was a commercial failure, now it could be yours and it could be a future classic. We're talking about the C70, arguably Volvo's most stylish and desirable model. It's easy to see why. Well built, comfortable convertible. Rather than the traditional fabric roof, it has a neat metal folding one. Comfortable in the winter, more rigidity as you drive, and of course the beauty of getting top of your head burnt in the summer. Well, if you're in Spain, obviously in England, you'll just get wet. The Volvo C70 was first launched in 2006. This is certainly a model designed for relaxed cruising rather than enthusiastic driving. And that's quickly evident on the move. It corners quite soft, yet ironically, the ride can be quite firm. It's most noticeable on poor quality roads, such as city streets and, well, the cobbles of Belgium. We're still staying in Belgium. The basis for this car, of course, is the Ford Focus. They share the same platform, but it feels like a much more quality product than Ford. Lots of leather, many of them got full electric packs. Avoid the diesel though, that has some problems with the engine. Plus, no one wants to drive a convertible diesel. It'll always feel like you've got a bus behind you, won't it?
Or driving a tractor.
When you've got the roof down. And it shows, of course, young ladies that you're tight because you drive a diesel. What to watch out for? Well, how much can you buy a second-hand one for as well? Well, the usual for the car of this age, you want to see a full service history, you want to see a full logbook, a new cam belt, and a roof that doesn't leak. So cars that smell moldy or have a damp carpet are best avoided. Price-wise, we found a 2008 2.4 iSport full service history, 70,000 on the clock, immaculate condition, full working electric roof for just under £4,000. So why not say ja tack in your best Swedish to the Volvo C70? What do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Of course, it's the convertible version of the coupe, which is also beautiful.
Ah,
so beautiful.
Oh, actually, I think I prefer that.
Oh,
that is nice.
Maybe we'll do that another time.
We must do that.
See how much
Are they as cheap? These, I couldn't believe how cheap these were.
Yeah.
It's a 12-year-old car, but with the soft top. I mean, the reason I got onto this is the wife has been banging on because we've had like a little not a child. We've had a little nice bit of sunshine, haven't we, the last few weeks?
Yeah.
It's been a summery autumn here in the UK, and I've been driving around with the windows wound down, obviously to use as much fuel as possible, because there's so much petrol in the UK. And I was like, it would be nice to get a convertible. My wife said, "What would you like?" I said, "I like an MX-5, but we've got children that you couldn't get them in the back, and as much as I like to put them in the boot." And sometimes they quite like being put in the boot with that sort of family. Mob links, you know what I mean? Tied up, gaffer tape across the mouth. I found this and I went, actually, that's quite a nice looking car. It's not going to drive very well. It's a bit wallowy, but
the thing is, Volvos are usually for young professional people like yourselves, which would all be
youngish, professional-ish.
Pretty safe.
Have you seen this show?
Pretty safe, pretty solid. Because it's got Ford bits here and there, it's the parts I wouldn't have thought would have been too expensive to maintain either. I think that's a bargain. I think that's really good. Yes, I did consider getting a Volvo myself before I got my Mini. But
I think badge-wise, Volvo still has the cachet of a quality brand.
Yes. Absolutely.
I think if you have that Volvo badge, plus I think this is a bit of one of those cars, very much like the Land Rover, the certain cars that you can't work out, you can't judge people on it. I think when you've got a Volvo and a Saab used to do it, you didn't
Yes.
really know where these people were coming from. They've got taste because they've gone for the Volvo. This is just purely badge wise.
Mm.
You've got a Land Rover or certainly a Land Rover, not a Range Rover. If you've
Not
got a
Range
Land
Rover.
Rover
Yeah.
or a Saab or a Volvo, people can't put you in any sort of pocket. They're like, I don't know, this guy could be a builder, he could be a multi-millionaire. And I saw one in my car park where I go to the gym, and I was like, actually, it does look a very nice car. Just remember, the roofs do leak, so find one without a leaking roof. And talking of things leaking out,
Oh,
here we go. Oh, short and sweet. Yeah, I think he followed through there. Oh, that was musical.
that sound and smell must mean it's time for the feature on the show where we examine any terrible crimes committed to cars across the world, from putting a whale-tail on the spoiler of your 1994 Vauxhall Nova to pasting it over in rust with Bondo, which apparently is a product that you just paste over. Even welding on baked bean.
Plastic padding. That's what the Americans call plastic padding.
Welding a baked bean tin to your exhaust, we will basically find a car on sale across the world, a terrible car that has dared to mount the pile of feces to be crowned the glorious king of the hill. It is a time on the show, of course, to look at the Pub of the Week or Title of the Week here on Car-Boyz.
Turn of the Week!
This week we had an email from Alistair in Chester, up north. He spotted this car for sale on a popular sales website. We're not going to say which one. It's a 2002 Kia Shuma 2 or 2. It's
II.
II, isn't it? The car has had 3 owners, a good auto gearbox, a aircon rear parking sensors and electric windows. All of this for a mere £350. But it goes on to say that it's really is for spares only, as it does not drive due to the engine problem that it has. So, Rich, why should you buy or not buy this vehicle?
Well, firstly, I've never heard of the Michael Schumann. What is it called?
Schumer.
The Kia Schumer 2 or II. No. Please don't buy this car. For a start, this isn't a private sale. This is at a garage.
Ooh.
It's at a car dealership.
Yeah.
And what does engine problem mean? Could mean needs a new fan belt. Could mean ignition module's gone. More likely, the head gasket has gone. Or even more likely, the timing belt has snapped. And the engine's completely ruined. It's got an engine problem. So if that's the case, this is about 150 quid's worth of scrap. It's not a classic 1960s Jaguar. It's not a 1980s Escort. It's a car no one has ever heard of and no one wants to own. It's worth nothing. Time to go and get it scrapped. These days, Kia is a brand we all know about, but 19 years ago, nobody knew about it. This is a pile of junk no one's got a clue about. It's produced super cheap. It's a car for the elderly, but the elderly 20 years ago, my grandparents who have now passed on, would have loved this 20 years ago. Well, I had a look online. There are less than 200 Kia Schumers on the road 3 years ago. So how many are still out there now? So who wants to buy this for spares? Nobody.
Well, we've said this before. Just because it's rare, it doesn't mean that no one liked them. It probably had an engine is a probably write-off. No one in the right mind should ever purchase this vehicle, even a working Kia Shuma. It will only be worth about £500. We found a 2006 1.3 litre Toyota Yaris with an MOT for exactly the same price.
Which one are you going to buy? You got 350 quid in your pocket. And you're going to go say, I need a car. All I've got is 350 quid. Well, you can have this one that doesn't work, and it's a brand that no one's heard of. Or for the same price, a car that's, 4 years newer with a 1.3 litre engine. It's a Toyota, which has an MOT for the same price. So which one are you going to go for?
I think the Kia is quite appealing, though.
It's
No.
I've never seen one of these. I came when we got this letter in from Alistair. I was I
The
was
thing is,
surprised.
if you had it, would you like to be seen in one of these? No, no.
I would just say I'm borrowing my grandfather's car. I do apologise. Yes, so that's it. Thank you to Alistair who spotted this car
Well done.
online. The 2002 non-running Kia Shuma, which is our pup of the week.
Aye.
It could be aye.
Aye.
So yeah, you can send us all your stuff to the usual address if you want to get your suggestion onto the pup of the week. It's email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. We're on Facebook, car-boys, boys always with a Z, at Car-Boyz with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys with a Z, at car_boys with a Z. Instagram at Car-Boyz with 3 Zs. Could somebody have taken 4? Are we ready for a bit more music? Let's have a bit more music because it is, of course, time for Lost Highways. I always feel I've got too many teeth when I listen to this. I should have less teeth, a bit of straw hanging out my mouth, and possibly a relationship with a close family member that's sexual.
She is my cousin.
You got a pretty mouth.
Regulars, of course, to the show will know that this is our feature where viewers email us and give their favourite roads and reasons why they love them. It could be a quiet coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight 2-lane blacktop that leads you to infinity and invites you to gun the pedal to the metal, whatever your poison is, and lets you know your perfect driving road here at Car-Boyz. Rich gave you all the details. Moving on in the Car-Boyz inbox this week, it's Ronnie98 who says, you guys rock. Yeah, we know.
Thanks,
By the way,
Ronnie.
I rock. I got Brian May on my
Yay, very cool. I thought it looked like Anita Dobson.
with a guitar.
Or who was the guy that discovered gravity?
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton.
Yeah.
Bit of Isaac Newton.
Guitar.
It's very nice playing his and of course he was round the corner from me.
He was.
He
Yeah.
was born around the corner from where I live now.
Absolutely. He said, "You guys rock." So come on to one of the world's most famous rocks in the world. Yes, it is, of course, the Hong Kong of the West. It is, of course, Gibraltar. It says
Hong Kong of the West.
Yes.
Really? Did you make this up?
I don't know. That's what came in on the inbox. The Hong Kong of the West.
Hong Kong of the West. There you go.
It's on an island
like
with an
Birmingham
airport.
is the Venice of the North.
It's a typically British place, especially since it's been British territory since 1704. You can go up onto the Mound of Limestone if you want to, but since Simon likes planes, yes, I do like planes, and cars, of course, I thought you'd like the road that runs through the airport.
Oh, that's cool.
And the runway. Winston Churchill Avenue is what it's called. It's the main road into the city that connects to Spain. Just like a railway crossing, the road closes frequently for planes to land and take off. When the barriers are up, you have to drive or walk across very quickly. Incidentally, the runway was built during the Second World War and is still owned by the Ministry of Defence. Touchy point, much to Spain's annoyance. Take advantage of this as they're building a tunnel to replace it. So there you go. So what you can see there, that main bit here, that is the runway.
That's very cool.
Going through it.
It reminds me of the old airport in Bangkok, which I think was Don Muang, which had a golf course.
Oh yeah. Around the side of it.
Yeah, and you would land and you'd like see caddies
and
people playing golf, and you'd be like, how? And my friend played golf there a couple of times, and he said, "There's no security to get in." I was like, "Well, what stops people doing things to planes?
Throwing a golf ball
or firing things?" Yeah. Can you imagine? You just come into land and the golf ball's bouncing off the wing. Can we play through this?
So there you go. So that was thank you, Ronnie, for that. That was Gibraltar.
I've never been to Gibraltar. I've been down that part of Spain. I wonder if he's a criminal. There's a lot of criminals. His name was Ron.
Yeah.
Ronnie Biggs. Ronnie Biggs, Ronnie Knight. Finally, On this part of the show, Lefty Lucy writes in and says she's discovered her favorite road when she and her husband took a trip to the birthplace of Grandmaster Flash. I didn't know that. I saw him DJ once. He was terrible.
Really?
Barbados. Yeah, he wasn't very good.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
corporate gig in central London. He just
Oh
queued
dear.
up records. Anyway, that aside, I love the
Any
fact.
turn can do that.
Yeah, I know. I thought he was going to go, and he just queued up and played records. I saw Giles Peterson do the same thing. He just queued up records. And oh god, there was another band from XL Records that I saw play, and they were famous for doing mixes and all this, and they just queued up records. Anyone can do that.
And
Sorry,
probably got thousands of pounds for it.
yes, exactly. We're getting confused. Yes, here we go. Grandmaster Flash from Barbados. This is her favorite road. She has taken a big picture of the road and not a very good picture of Barbados. So we're selling the road on here. The pear-shaped island is small in area. It's a quarter of the size of London at around 21 miles across. There's a contrast between the calm of the west coast, the ruggedness of the east, and the middle of the island is pretty hilly. Like the Brits, the Bargens drive on the left. Retain yes, they know the loyalty of the Queen. God bless you, Your Majesty. And the well-maintained road network stretches across the whole island. Some roads can be rough. There's barely too much in the way of traffic. The speed limit is a gentle 37 miles an hour, faster than London, except where otherwise indicated. So anyone used to the UK's roads will find driving here rather relaxing. Our favourite road, says Lefty Lucy, is the ABC Highway because it's named after the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. No, it's named after three famous politicians, Adams, Barrow and Cummins, and it's both a two-lane and a part dual carriageway, and the intersections are roundabouts, and the speed limit is a mighty 50 miles an hour. I've got a friend that goes to Barbados all the time, and the reason it's one of the more expensive islands in the Caribbean is they suffer very rarely from hurricanes.
Oh, okay.
St. Lucia's the same. They hardly get any hurricanes. So the islands that get the hurricanes, you'll find if you go and live there, the price to live there is quite slim. But Barbados, and apparently the horse racing is very good on Barbados.
Nice. And as you can see, there's not much traffic.
Not any horses
on those roads.
No, that does look quite relaxed. Very good. Thank you very much for that. Yes, there we go. So that's a couple of our driving roads. You know the usual address. I'll quickly flash it up once again. You can just stop the podcast and just make a note of that. If you would like to send us something, what is it time for now? Oh, it's time to delve into the part of the show that we like to call the mail bag. Oh, hang on. Is this going to work? Here we go. Yes.
Starting off with Sarah in Chipping Norton. Ooh, says hello, Car-Boyz. Love the show.
Hello.
She doesn't have to say that, but she does. I'm local to Jeremy Clarkson's new farm shop. Oh yeah, it's what's it called? It's called.
Hang on, here we go. Diddly Squat.
Diddly Squat, of course.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Shame she lives in the shop. Shame he doesn't do the car stuff anymore. As I don't really care about a rich man playing being a farmer. Yeah, that's true. I want to know what your favourite cars are. Which cars are going to be big
in the
future? and should I buy? What should I buy if I hit a two-seater? If I want a two-seater sports car, something for the weekend. I think. She wants.
Yeah. So basically, she wants to know what our favourite cars are, and
of the moment, of all time.
She says, "What are your favourite cars? Which cars are going to be big, and what should I buy if I want a two-seater sports car for the weekend?" So, my favourite cars, in no particular order, are Citroen DS, Original Mini, Honda Prelude, Peugeot 405, Fiat 500, but the original, Mercedes W124 pillarless coupe from the 1990s, Land Rover Series 188-inch, Mercury Marauder. Now, these are cars I've either owned or I covet because I've never driven a Mercury Marauder, but I'd love to.
Okay.
Cars for the future, Citroen Ami with the electric one, the new one, Alpine A110 that we saw at the British Motor Show. I think that's going to be a fantastic car. And because I'm old and a father and I need to get shit in the back, Subaru Outback. What are your favorite cars of all time, and what do you think is going to be big in the future?
So my favorite cars of all time are my favorite car of all time is the Ford Cortina. My dad had a Ford Cortina. He actually had two Cortinas, a Mark
Now,
One Cortina.
Mark?
He had a Mark One Cortina and
Yeah,
he had a Mark Five Cortina,
that was the
which I
very
remember, which
final
was
one.
beige. Yes, it was beige that one.
I bet it was called Aztec Gold, wasn't it?
uh,
Champagne,
so yeah,
not
so the
beige, Simon.
Cortina.
Champagne.
Campaign. The Cortina is my favorite car. I like the original Mini, as you said. I like the current Mini. Well, parts of the current Mini. Some of them's good, not bad. So yes, those are new cars. I don't know. This is maybe a controversial to say on a car show, but there's not much new cars that I kind of go, I really want one of those. So obviously, when I was a kid, you had the pictures of like the
Yep,
Lamborghinis on your wall,
yep,
the Ferraris on the wall.
yep.
I don't think there's many cars that
Uh,
inspire me to go.
I've
I want one of
the
those.
two things are I've struggled to find the cars for the future. I struggle to think about that. I was really impressed with the Alpine
Yes, yeah, yeah,
A110 when we saw that in the British Motor Show. I thought that was
yeah.
a fantastic looking car. Subaru, I just liked. That looks like a nice car. Awful lot of bland, boring. We saw the new Mustang, didn't we? Yeah, there was
Yes.
lots of Schumann twos.
That's where they all were. 300 of them.
I think that's coupled to the fact that there isn't. I don't think young people drive anymore, and they will be a driving force
Yeah.
behind car ownership. Car ownership has become. I mean, when you got to 17, when I was a kid, everybody went and did the driving test, and everybody learned how to drive.
Mm.
And I remember my insurer saying, I said, when can I drive a really big car? And he went, oh, by the time you're 26. By the time you're 26, you can drive whatever size car you want. Well, that's not the case now. You will not get
Yeah.
insurance if you're 26 on a 3 liter, I don't know, Capri or something like that,
Yeah.
or a big powerful Lexus. You will not get insurance on that car. So I think
Mm.
that's part of the problem. And I also think, as we've had this discussion before, that cars are no longer designed by designers; they are designed by effing focus groups.
Yes.
It just makes everything bland and boring and irons out anything that people don't like.
Mm.
And I did mention the Capri there.
Yes.
I walked past a Capri the other day,
Oh.
and they look very ugly from the front. Stand in front of
Really?
a Capri, they look awful. The side looks nice. The
Yeah.
back looks nice. That shot from say 45 degrees from the back looks nice, but
Because
directly
obviously,
in front they
yeah.
look awful. It just looks like an old Cortina.
See, I like that. I like the double little round lights on the facelifted ones with the indicator on the bumpers.
I think they
Because the
look if
original.
offset angle they look good, but this was parked in this garage facing out, and I went, God, that looks ugly. Oh, she also wanted to know two-seater sports car, fun for the weekend. If you're just listening to the show, of
Yeah.
course, you'll know we just mentioned the C70 by Volvo.
Yeah.
If you want a bit more fun, rear-wheel drive, it's got to be the MX-5.
Yeah. MX-5, you can't go wrong with an MX-5.
10-year-old one for about £7,000.
Absolutely. All good.
There we go. So had another email from Arnold in Arnold.
Arnold? Oh,
Arnold in
really?
Arnold, yes, in Nottingham. Says, hello, Car-Boyz. Hope you both good. Love the show. Thank you. First time emailer, long time viewer. Love that.
Yes.
Wondering what you think of dealerships. Assholes. My Mazda 3 2007 model needs a new clutch. Mazda dealer wants 800 quid to fix this. Is this correct? Well, it might be correct, but it's something I completely avoid. I'd stay away from main dealers. Once your car is out of warranty, do not go to a main dealer. They are there to scam you out of cash. Find a local reputable garage, maybe one that just specializes in Mazdas, but that's not necessarily important.
Mm.
Get a good mechanic. That's the most important thing. Complete clutch kit shouldn't be more than 200 quid. And also make sure it's a pattern part, i.e. a part based on the Mazda part, not the OE part from Mazda. Because this is an old car. So you don't care about this car. You don't need the Mazda part. You just need a pattern part. The work should take, even if it's really difficult, I don't know how long it takes in a Mazda. Sometimes it can take 2 hours. Sometimes it can take 5 or 6 hours. So say 5 hours maximum, say 50. Where is he from? Does it say? Oh, Nottingham.
Arnold.
Okay. So 50 quid an hour
Arnold.
is, you will not be paying more than that for your garage fees in Nottingham, unless it's dealership. So you want £50 an hour, say 5 hours, that's 250 quid. The parts at VAT's at 50, so that takes you to 300, 200 for the part, 500 quid maximum.
Yeah,
And you might get it
pretty much
cheaper
so.
than that.
The good thing is with the interweb at the moment is there's loads of groups. I mean, if you follow our Facebook group, there's lots of Facebook
Yep.
groups and things like that of people, and usually there is someone that will go on there going, "Anyone recommend a good place
Yeah.
in Nottingham or wherever to get certain parts?" So yeah, it's
And garages, you just need to find yourself, just don't go back to the dealership. Your car is worth in excess of 1,500 quid. It's a cheap car. You shouldn't be paying half the price of the bloody car to get a clutch done. A clutch is not a hard job, not a massive job to do. So just go to a nice, find somebody, email around. There's an app that I use all the time called Nextdoor, which is great. I use Nextdoor all the time. I may have told you this story before. Apology, viewers, listeners, if I have. But I had a number plate delivered to my house, which was addressed to John Green, which is my father's name. So the number plate turned up, and I thought, what has my father been ordering to the house? And I open it, and it's a private registration plate with a Scottish badge on one side, which apparently will be no longer able to use in Europe. There you go.
Yes, I saw.
And I went, my father is neither Scottish, and he doesn't need a private reg plate, and this is not his plate. Whose is this plate? My father doesn't really like the Scottish very much. So I was like, it's definitely not Dad's. So I quickly went on the Nextdoor app and I said, listen, is there anybody called John Green on this road?
Yeah.
And I've got his number plate. DM me. Guy DM me. Oh yeah, he lives at number, I don't know, 76. That's not the number, but and I knocked on his front door. I said, oh yeah, he's been waiting for that. They just put Oak Avenue. They've just put where I live, Oak Road, whatever. And they just stuffed it through my door, thinking, well, this is Green. This has got to be the guy. But that little next door app's very. And I so many people have asked me, where's a good garage? And I'm like, oh, by the way, if you're on the next door app, this is the guy to go to. This is my guy, and he's fantastic.
Fantastic. There you go. So thank you for that, Arnold
Thank
and
you.
Arnold. Next, we're in Delcamber, Louisiana, with Carl, and he lives near the ocean. And says the temperature down here, down there in October, is balmy. His next door neighbour passed away last month. Sorry to hear that. Grand old age of 87. His wife wants to sell his car, a 2003 Mercury Grand Marquis, in champagne gold, Jewish
Champagne gold.
in A1 condition, always garage, always service, 49,000 miles on the clock. Autobox full electric pack, 4.6 litre V8. She wants $4,800 for it. At the moment, he has an old 2001 Honda Civic. Should he upgrade? We don't have these over here in Britain. I don't think we've ever had Mercury's over here.
It's obviously based on the Ford Panther platform.
Yes.
So this is a car that's been around for, what, 30, is it 40 years in America?
Squint, is it a Crown Victoria?
Crown Vic. Crown Vic, yeah. Police cars, taxi. When I went to New York for the first time in the early 90s, I think the Crown Vic were all the taxis were replacing the old checkered cab, Crown Vics. There's hardly any left now. The last time I was in New York, and all the police cars were Crown Vic. The Panther platform this is based on, super reliable. The engine, super reliable. V8 4.6 litre, 25 highway, 18 city.
I think they're all Stone Age engines, aren't they?
Stone Age, yeah. Very, very naturally aspirated, very reliable. Looks like a Grandad Mobile. Of course, American car, so it's only good in a straight line. Comes with lots of kit on it, lots of leather. Drives pretty fast, 200 bhp. Hell of a lot of car for less than $5,000. And I was talking earlier about one of my favorite cars is the Mercury Marauder, which is the super duper version of this.
Oh, okay.
$5,000 for, so what is it? It's 2003.
Yeah.
It's not been driven. It's what does he say it's got on the clock?
49,000.
It's a brand new car. I think he won't know himself if he buys this. If he gets this, plus your neighbour's going to love you because she'll keep seeing the car. She'll go, oh, that used to be Harold's car or whatever his name was. And does it say brilliant? The one I've got says power on the front. power.
Ooh,
Power.
power.
But yeah, that does. I would go and get one of those. It's a proper granddad cruiser.
Yeah,
But you know,
it's
you're
an
in
upgrade.
America.
It is an upgrade. Yeah, upgrade.
Gasoline is very cheap, and
And available as well.
and available, and it'll be the most powerful car in the world. Not
There
quite,
you
but why not? Go for
go.
it. I would go for it. I think that sounds good.
Yeah, why not?
Finally, we've got Tina in Cardiff. She says, Yaki da, Car-Boyz.
Ooh.
Yaki da. She's off on holiday. There's lovely. Hopefully next month to Mallorca. Oh dear, how sad. Never mind. She's going to go with her boyfriend, which is nice. I'm not going to leave him at home. I'm going to take him. She wants to know, should she hire a car on the island and get around? Or should... sorry, that was the picture of the Mazda. I'm getting confused. Picture of the Mazda. So she's going to Mallorca. I'm getting sidetracked. Should she hire a car? Should she just go on the local bus? So she wants an easy time, but do I need I haven't been to Mallorca
I've never been.
a long time. I think the last was about 15 years ago. It's pretty crap public transport, and it's very irregular. It's very cheap, but it's not like one of the. It's not like somewhere like Gran Canaria where the buses just go up and down all day, so you don't need to really hire a car. On the seafront, there's always buses. Mallorca's a little different. I do remember we didn't hire a car and we wished we had done because the buses were so awful. So I'd go and hire a small car and a motorbike. A car's about £30 a day. The motorbike's going to be about half that. Buses, very cheap and regular. What we did do, now this is did nothing to do with cars. You got to do this. There's a train service called the Orange Express, the Ferrocarril do Sola, which heads through the mountains from the capital city called Palma down to the seaport at Port de Olier, and it's over 100 years old, and it's a great day out. And it used to carry all the oranges and lemons center of the island to the capital, and it's wooden. And you go through mountains and all this beautiful electric light. I mean, this is like 1910. This was built, and it's all wooden, and it's wooden on the inside, and it's a really cool little day out. Go into Palma and jump on this, and it takes you to this little port near you at the port, and you go and get some lunch, look at the sea, jump in the sea, take your clothes off, whatever you do. But it's very funky.
I like that. The train looks like it's smiling as well.
He's got a happy smile on his face. Honestly, I know this program always bangs on about motoring and so forth, but occasionally we do like a little bit of public transport.
Yes, occasionally.
And if you would like to get it on, where's my thing? There you go. There's all the stuff to get your questions into car-boys@outlook.com, so on and so forth. I stretched that. That was my old radio days. Fourth, with the time coming up to the top of the hour. So stay tuned for then. Stay tuned. We've got great songs on the way from 10cc and ELO.
I'd listen to that radio station. I'd listen to that.
People badly queuing up records. Welcome to Badly Queuing Up Records FM.
No, it'd be AM. It wouldn't be on FM.
Yeah, it would be on AM. Still to come at the top of the... Here's the news.
Yeah, indeed. So that's good old radio. Something I'll tell you off air. I'll tell you at the end of the show.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes, it is, of course, quiz time. And after a delay of 18 months, James Bond returns to the big screen.
What better way to get my ass whipped?
Yeah, so what a better way to mark this than dedicating this week's quiz to the man himself, 007. Hence why it's called Now You Must Die, Mr. Bond. So we will be looking... It would be easy to look at all the actors who played the character of James Bond, but this is a car show, so we're not going to do that. So we'll be looking at all the cars that James Bond has driven. Most people know that his weapon of choice is the Aston Martin DB5, but he did drive some other cars.
Yes, that's true.
So this week's contestant is 0049, at least for a couple more weeks.
Be quiet about that. My new name's 0069, but I never got the chance. I've been too many effing times. I always like to give the girls the back of my hand.
Yes, don't sweat at all. It is Richard from a secret location because he's a secret
Yep.
secret agent, but you are in London somewhere. Do you buy into the Bond franchise? Are you interested in James Bond?
Well, I'm interested. Hang on a second. I've just dropped my top. I've got to that age. I
You've got
used
to
to
do that.
collect the books when I was a kid. So I
Mm.
used to collect the original, the not the
Is that because
not the
celluloid wasn't invented by that time, or?
because what yeah, nothing. Yes, there was no radio, and there's only literature to. No, I used to, because I used to live in Greenwich when I was a student, and I used to
Okay.
go on to the Sunday markets, and it was all full of like cheap stuff to buy,
Yeah.
old records, and I got my love of classic rock from buying like Sabbath albums and Led Zeppelin albums. But the books down there were like £1, and I used to buy sort of third or fourth edition
Okay.
Ian Fleming
Ian
books.
Fleming.
The
Yeah.
covers were really cool as well. So a lot of the times these had come out before the movies had come out.
Yes.
And when I bought a house 17 years ago, there were all these books in the loft.
Yeah.
So I went through them all and I got rid of them. And I did find a first edition
Ooh,
Moonraker in
nice.
hardback, which is in a little plastic bag over here somewhere on one of these shelves. So I'm not a fan of, I'm not a massive fan of the movies, but
Okay.
I really did quite like Ian Fleming. It's very simple. It's Pulp Fiction. I like Ian Fleming's writing.
Mm,
So I might be able to
absolutely.
answer a few of these questions.
So there you go. So this week you will be the prize on offer is because it does, of course, he is a secret agent. This is going to be some invisible ink. There you go. Can you see that?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's
There you
fantastic.
go.
Let me just, if you could just pass the invisible ink. Oh, yes, yes, I can see it. It's lovely.
Oh,
Oh,
look
yeah.
at that. There you go.
Okay, read
Endorsed by
that.
the letters Q and M. So,
I put my
Is
pen
that-
into it. Can I kill people with it? Don't explode. Careful. Don't explode that.
Yes.
Mime
So-
is not a dead art, courtesy of the internet. Let me just put it back over there. Thank you. Oh, there's a brick wall here. And a glass one to the side of me. Marceau.
Must so. Question number one. Eyes down. Look
Yep.
in the first official James Bond film,
Yes.
Doctor No.
No.
Bond was ambushed on a mountainside
Yes.
in this vehicle. What was it? Was it A, a Hillman Avenger, or B, a Sunbeam Alpine?
It's a Sunbeam Alpine.
It is absolutely right. There you go.
Yay!
Mountain one. All good. Yes, so that was first James Bond film, Doctor No. Question number two. In the 1967 film, You Only Live Twice. No,
You Only Live Twice.
You Only Live Twice. Bond travels to Japan, and he
Hmm.
drives the country's first supercar, which looks like this. Is it A, a Toyota 2000, or a Nissan Skyline? A Toyota
Hang on
2000,
a
or
second.
B.
Hang on a second. Just let it. A little bit. White balance.
There you go.
I'm very familiar with the what did you what are my choices again?
Toyota 2000 or the Nissan Skyline. There's an interesting thing to story to
Well, I
this.
thought it was the Honda 2000, not the Toyota 2000.
It's a Toyota.
It is okay. So I'm going to go for Nissan. No, it'd be Datsun. So I'm going to go for Toyota.
It is the Toyota, yes.
Yay!
However, this might have tricked you because I don't know if you can see this. There were
Yes.
only 300 and something built of these.
Gosh.
But Sean Connery was too big to move around in it when they were filming. So if you look, they chopped the roof off.
Oh, it was never supposed to be a soft top.
No, it wasn't. But they did it
I can't get
especially
inside
for
this
this.
thing. It's like Japanese women. I find it very difficult to get inside them. They're so small. It's a little bit me too as well, because I believe he blacks up in You Only Live Twice, you know. He does. He pretends to be a Japanese fisherman and he puts boot polish on and dyes his hair. Or both his hairs because he's a bit bald. Yeah,
Okay.
he blacks up. And you're like, it's never happened. This never happened now.
Anyway, yeah, absolutely right. It was the
Success.
Toyota. Question number three. On
Yes.
Her Majesty's Secret Service with
Yes.
Australian George Lazenby.
New Kiwi.
Was it Kiwi?
He was
Not
Kiwi.
Australian. Okay. Who drove this car? Where Bond's wife was assassinated in this vehicle.
Diana
What-
Rigg. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. When they're riding on in the horseback as well.
Yes.
Louis Armstrong's.
Louis
all
Armstrong.
the
What a
Uh,
wonderful world.
What is it? Is it A, a Jaguar XK, or B, an Aston Martin DBS?
This is Aston
Jaguar
Martin
XK?
DBS.
It is
Because
absolutely
I
right.
had one in The Persuaders with
Yes,
Tony
you did.
Curtis. Tony
Yes.
Curtis had the Dino, and I had the Aston Martin DBS.
Red
It did
Sinclair.
make me raise an eyebrow
They just permanently raise it eyebrow. You're absolutely
because
right.
I
Three
was
out of
from
three.
Stockwell. Sorry. Yes,
Yes,
cool.
he was. Question number 4. In The Spy Who Loved Me,
Yes.
Roger Moore's Bond converts a car into a mini submarine. What was it? Would you like to see the picture of it?
No, I don't need to. It's a Lotus.
It was. Was it Lotus Esprit or Lotus Elan?
A Spree.
It was an Esprit. There you go. Bing. Absolutely right.
Look at that. That one of the
Oh,
all-time. That was a great. That was a very good scene where he with Barbara Bach, I think, Ringo
yes. Yeah.
Starr's wife, and they get in the car, and she's the Russian spy, so she knows how it works as well. And she says, "Oh, Mr. Bond, we have this same car in Russia." And anyway, she knows how to drive it as well. As they come out of the ocean and onto the beach, the window winds down, and the
Yes.
guy in a pair of trunks just stood there, like confused. Roger Moore just takes a fish out of the car, as if it's leaking so a fish could get in. I don't know what happened there. Lotus build quality, I believe. Lots of trouble, usually serious.
Yes. There you go. It was a Lotus Esprit. Absolutely right. 4 out
Hey.
of 4. Question number 5 in For Your Eyes Only. He
Yes.
has another Lotus, he has another Lotus. This time a Lotus Esprit Turbo, which looks like this with Roger. Roger sat on the bonnet. There we go. That's the way it
Ah,
right.
with the
Look at him.
ski pack.
Yes.
I'm going to Gstaad.
What happens to it when the bad guy, Hector Gonzalez, smashes its passenger window? Does it A, spray poisonous gas, or B, does it self-destruct? Does it A, spray poisonous gas, or B,
I'm going
does
to
it
say
self-destruct?
self-destruct.
It does, of course, self-destruct.
Yay.
Absolutely right. Bing.
Bing.
There you go. So that was For Your Eyes Only. Question number 6. So 5 out of 5, doing really well. In the same film, after the Lotus self-destructs. Bond is forced to choose another less powerful but
Oh.
iconic vehicle.
Oh.
What
I
is
think
it?
I
Is
think
it?
we're talking about Citroen 2CV, aren't we?
Yes, we're not
A
giving you
yellow.
options. There you go. The yellow.
Was it? There you go.
Yeah.
What doesn't he play a postman? Doesn't he play oh, am I thinking of another movie? Does he play a
Possibly.
postman in that? Why did he end up with a 2CV?
Because this car self-destructed, so he ended up
Ah,
taking the
the
first
only
thing he
thing I
found,
could
which
have.
was
Now, there was when I was at school, which will age me, somebody's mum turned up with the 007 yellow 2CV.
yes.
But with bullet holes. It had a decal of
Ah,
bullet holes down the side and 007 along the bottom. We were like, that's pretty cool. It's
so is
still a
that like the one that
2CV.
we saw at the motor show?
Exactly like that. Exactly like that one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. So doing really well. 6 out of 6. Well done. So question number 7. Following the
Ah,
deal with BMW,
yes.
the first product placement was in GoldenEye, and it sees James Bond drive a Beamer to a waiting plane. What is the
Yes.
car? Would you like to see a picture of it?
I think it's
Is
a
it A?
Z3.
Yes,
It's
a
a
Z3
Z3.
or a 37. It is a Z3. There you go.
Ugh.
Awful vehicles.
I know. I was going. What is he going to go and do? Some hairdressing? I mean, he is one of the better Bonds.
He is.
Pierced Brosnan.
Because he
But
always
I don't like to always left study like that.
he's always whispering. He's never talking really loud. I thought Christmas comes only once a year.
I made him a little bit too much Irish there. I think I'm very Irish. I know
He
he's
was a
Irish, but
Remington still, you know.
yes, he was. And I will tell you a story about him and his wife after the show
Nice.
is finished.
Oh, I think I know
Which
that. I
is
know that.
oh yeah, you
I
know
know
that
that one.
one.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go.
You're not 007 anymore. That's all I'll say. And now you remember.
7 out of 7.
Fantastic.
Question number 8. Still with BMW.
Yes.
In the film Tomorrow Never Dies, Bond is seen driving the car from the back seat using a mobile phone. What car is it? Would you like to see a picture?
Yes, please. Is it 7
it-
Series?
Is it BMW X5 or is it BMW 750i 7 Series?
750i.
It is the 750i.
Cool.
Absolutely right. Well done. Doing really well. 8 out of 8. That's that invisible ink that you've got on your desk.
Oh, hang on.
Perhaps
Making
one of our
notes.
best prizes that we could ever make. Yes, absolutely right. It was a 7 Series BMW. Question number 9: the most deadly car featured in the James Bond film was, and I'll show you a picture of it in a minute.
Yes.
It featured tire spikes, missiles, lasers, and even skis. Skis came out of it.
Right.
It was in Timothy Dalton's out in The Living Daylights. It's this. What is it? Is it A, an Aston Martin DB7, or is it B, an Aston Martin V8? DB7 or V8?
So it's early 80s.
Mm.
Oh. See,
DB7
I
or
get
V8?
confused with these acronyms for David Brown Aston Martin. One of these was opposite where I used to work in this classic car garage.
Ooh.
So it's DB7. I think it's V8. I'm going to go for V8.
Absolutely right. Yes, I thought you were going to say it was DB7
Hey!
there, with the skis on the side. There you go.
Yes, I
I
vaguely
actually-
remember that.
I have got somewhere in my house a Matchbox model of this little die-cast model where the skis actually do pop out from the side.
Wow.
But I have to find that. I don't know where it is.
That probably shows how much younger you are than I. As I small the Roger Moore era, and I'm pretty sure I had the White Lotus.
So yes, you're doing really well. 9 out of 10. So yeah, I think you've won the Invisible League. So question number 10, the final
Yes.
one. Let's see if we can make it a full house. The James Bond's most famous vehicle is, of course, the Aston Martin DB5. It first appeared in the 1965. In one of the James Bond films. But how many times did he drive a DB5 in the franchise?
Ooh. Go on.
3 times, 6
Yes.
times, or 10 times?
Okay.
3, 6, or 10?
3, 6, 10.
I
So-
don't think you'll be able to get the films. I will go for it. 3, 6,
So
or 10?
obviously, obviously Goldfinger.
Yes.
I think a couple of Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
That's up to 3. Daniel Craig, probably 1 or 2.
Oh, yes.
That's 5. I'm going to say 6. Let's go 6.
Full house!
Yay!
Yes! The films were.
First time I've got a full house. First time I've got a
absolute-
full house.
And you've got Invisible Ink as well. The films were Goldfinger, Thunderball, so 2 Sean Connery,
Okay.
GoldenEye and Tomorrow Never Dies, which was the Pierce
Brosnan's.
Brosnan's ones, yeah, and Casino Royale and Skyfall were the Daniel Craig
Casino
ones.
Royale and Skyfall.
So there you go.
Yes. Yeah,
Really happy with that.
fantastic.
10 out
Although
of 10.
by the time we got to Skyfall, that would be like a £4 million car. That's what they don't say. This is just my car for the weekend. What? The £4.8 million pound car the Bonhams were. Yes, but it has nothing to
Exactly.
do with Bond because Bond doesn't exist in this reality. In fact,
Secret agent, but drives
Secret
the most
agents.
indiscreet car that you can
exactly, exactly. Who's that? The name's Bond. But they also don't go on, and that's what the most annoying. He has an export company that he's supposed to work for, and they've forgotten all about that. That was his cover.
Yes.
I mean, they also want him to be a black woman with no legs. That's the latest fucking thing.
as they did with Doctor Who.
So they're ruining Doctor Who. So now we've got to ruin Bond. I'm going to see if I can find one of my classic books. Stay there. Hold that thought.
I hope she hasn't.
That's the inheritance. They are in here somewhere. That was just prove my
look for it at the end of the show.
I will be going. Where are all my Bond books? Yeah, well, they've gone down the church. The church rummage sale or something. Oh no, I found them. She has them.
Yes.
I'm slightly concerned. I can't see the. Now these were when covers to books. So, Live and Let Die.
Ooh.
Live and Let
This is
Die.
when they hired actors just to pose.
Yeah, to pose on the front.
Like the Mills and Boone stuff.
And then they would colorize it. Spy Love Me.
Ooh. By
Cheers.
Ian Fleming.
By Ian Fleming. What else have we got here? The Man with a Golden Gun.
And not a picture of Lulu in sight.
Yes, Lulu and her afro. The interesting thing, so Christopher Lee plays the man with the golden gun.
Yes.
He was supposed to play Dr. No because he's Fleming's cousin. And Fleming got drunk and forgot to tell Cubby Broccoli, "Oh, you should hire my cousin." Can you imagine? Oh, I missed out on that work, but he was great. That's also set in Jamaica and not in Southeast Asia, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Oh. And look at Ian Fleming on the back as well. There he is, smoking a cigarette. And finally, You Only Live Twice with a scorpion. Oh, there you go.
To bring it full circle in music, do you know which song was written at the desk of Ian Fleming? Not by Ian Fleming, but which song?
The desk. Oh,
in Goldeneye, which was the place. It was called Goldeneye.
Oh yes. That was his place in Jamaica.
Yes. Do you know what song was what was written in? Which number one song?
No, go on.
Every Breath You Take by the Police.
Really?
Sting wrote it at the desk of Ian Fleming, where he's staying at Goldeneye.
And another spy link to this, which I only found out the other day. Stuart Copeland's father was a spy for the CIA.
Yeah, that's why they're called the Police.
Oh,
did you not know this?
No, I didn't. I don't like the police. I don't like any of them.
I know you don't like them.
I don't like them. Why would I want to know about this?
Yes. And so not Miles Copeland, who was the manager, who was also his brother. But yeah, their dad worked for the CIA. That's why they call themselves the Police.
Because he was mates
it was Stuart Copeland's band.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know he was mates with Kim Philby, who was one of the Oxford Three that defected to Russia. And they were mates together out in Beirut in the 1960s.
That's
very interesting.
That's
there we go. Find something. You see, it's not just cars on Car-Boyz. You learn about all sorts of useless crap. I think we're going on too much. I've got to go and take my invisible ink and write stern letters to somebody.
Yes.
Never
write a check.
Write a check that my mouth can't cash. Thank you very much for tuning into this show. That's about it from Car-Boyz. When are we going to come back? I guess next week, if I can find the time. All being well, we'll be back. We'll be searching for Petrol in the meantime. Obviously, see if there's any out there. There's some here. I only got a tiny bit. I'm feeling quite petrol-y now, having drank most of that. Right, I'd better go because there's things to do, people to see, and well, there isn't really. It's just Friday night. I've got to go and put the kids to bed. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time on the Boys of Car.